Hey guys, Ryan here for Buddy Runs. Today we're going to be talking about battery maintenance and clearing up, once and for all, the concrete battery draining myth. So unless you've changed it, the battery in your OEM vehicle is going to generally be a flooded cell lead acid battery. What this means is that inside the battery you have a number of lead plates stacked up side by side with a dielectric in between them. They're encased in a plastic casing that has some space around the cells, and that space is filled with a liquid electrolyte that is typically a sulfuric acid water solution. So in this image, we have a greenish white kind of flaky powder on the terminals. This stuff usually doesn't do a whole lot of harm on its own, but it will make jumping the battery or replacing the battery or dealing with the battery that much more of a kind of a dirty task. So ideally we want to keep these terminals as clean as we possibly can and prevent this kind of corrosion happening, because it can and will interfere with passing charge. In this image we have fluid on top of the battery. This fluid layer is conductive and it will drain your battery given enough time. For those people that drive their car every day, you go to work, you come home, you go to the store, you go wherever, not that much of an issue. We're talking tiny amounts of drain. But if you let your car sit for a week or more at a time and it doesn't normally drain, this layer can cause the battery to drain. And non-deep cycle flooded cell lead acid batteries really do not like being drained below 10.5 10 volts. When you get them down that low, you end up getting an oxide layer forming on one or other of the plates, and that prevents charge from being stored and degrades the capacity and the function of the battery. So ideally, if you see this liquid layer on top of your battery, you want to neutralize it and clean it off as quickly as you possibly can. And this will help to keep your battery healthy for longer and should keep it alive a little bit longer. Now, some of the lifespan of flooded cell lead acid batteries coming down in the past few years is because manufacturers are trying to make the materials thinner and lighter and keep the price down for the customers to a reasonable level while still having the battery function. One of the things that I tend to see most often is this corrosion causing battery drains, or not starting the vehicle or not keeping it on a trickle charger, and the battery drains. Once it drains once, you've started creating that oxide layer on the plates, you're never really going to bring it back to full capacity. So ideally you want to keep your battery as clean as possible. The solution I use works really well. I think I figured the time that I came up with the idea that it was actually cheaper than the more common solution. So the most common solution, buy a can of battery cleaner, spray it on there, rinse it off with water. The primary DIY solution is mixing sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, into water, which neutralizes the acid corrosion on the terminals and on top of the battery. For the purposes of battery cleaning, I use sodium carbonate, which is an anion of sodium bicarbonate. It has the same valence, I believe, as sodium bicarbonate, but pound for pound, it is generally cheaper than sodium bicarbonate, last I checked. And you do the same thing, distilled water, sodium carbonate, you mix it up until it's all dissolved, pour it on top of the battery, let it do its thing. You'll see there's a reaction there. That's the base neutralizing the acid solution. And then you wash it all away with distilled water. A lot of people forget the second step, the washing it away. You can use tap water, distilled water, doesn't matter. And now that we've cleaned our battery, I'd like to address the giraffe in the hallway and talk about the still somehow common myth of setting automotive batteries on a concrete floor and them draining or becoming damaged prematurely. This advice was once actually very valid back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. batteries were built of a glass case with a wood outer frame. If you set these batteries on a concrete floor, there is a temperature differential between the concrete and the air, and what that ended up doing was creating cracks in the glass. With the glass cracked, the electrolyte would drain out of it, and the battery would be non-functional. Now, it was sometime in the 1950s when manufacturers began building batteries for cars using plastic. The outer shell is plastic. Plastic does not care so much about temperature differentials. You can apply 30, 40, 50 degrees of temperature differential from one end of the plastic to the other, and because it's such a good thermal insulator, you're not going to damage it. Setting a flooded cell, lead acid, plastic cased battery on a concrete floor absolutely cannot and will not cause any kind of cell degradation. Pulling the battery out of your car, setting it on the ground, pulling it off the shelf, setting it on the ground, cannot and will not cause any kind of degradation to the battery. Anybody that's still perpetuating these myths really needs to go out and do a little bit of research, because they've been told information that their grandfather's grandfather gave them from the first cars that were on the road. It is no longer valid information today. And that's all we've got for this video. Stay tuned for more tips and tricks. Hi. Other floating Ryan here. I just wanted to apologize for first Ryan. He rambles a lot, and in cutting out his rambling, we lost 20 minutes of footage. So the information is still in the video. With so many other things going on, I don't really have time to record another one of the same video. I will probably make a better one in the future. But right now, I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm trying to build content. So you'll forgive me if things seem a bit rushed. They seem a bit hastened. Absolutely, let me know in the comments what you think. Even if it's bad, even if you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Absolutely let me know that. It's valuable data. I need that. Let me know. I'm going to attach this segment to the end of each video that is very rough by the time I get done with them. It'll also help me as a marker be able to go back later and re-record some of these videos in a better format. But let me know what you think and give me hints. Tell me where I can go. Tell me how to make it better, because I'm here to elucidate you guys, to give you guys as much information as I can to try to make your lives easier